I'm Mike. This is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
Today we're going to bring you the Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game, published by Fantasy Flight Games. This will be the first of our series of us trying out some other tabletop games, so hopefully you enjoy it. So we're just going to be looking at the sort of quick start rules. We're just having a quick go. And on your screen now you can see some of the many components that make up this game. And you see some of the ships we're going to be using. And we'll get straight into the game now. So you can see we've marked out roughly 3 foot by 3 foot space. Basically just going to go from the dice box on the left to that range ruler on the right. We've got some asteroids and debris in the middle. We've got our Blue Squadron Escort in the X-Wing facing off against a Black Squadron Ace over on the right. And an Academy pilot over on the left. Here we've got our ship card, so this is a T-65 X-Wing, the Blue Squadron Escort. So this number is the initiative value. This basically determines when a ship gets to go in a turn. The red number is how many attack dice it gets when shooting its guns. The green number is how many dice it gets to roll when defending, so how many evade dice it gets. The yellow number is how much hull strength it has. The blue number is how many shields it has, and I've got 2 tokens here, and they flip to active and deactivated. And then just along here is the actions it can take. So I can do a focus, a target lock, or a barrel roll. The TIE fighters are basically the same, but switch out the target lock for evade. And we'll just explain those when they come up. And I've got tokens for them here. This number 1 here is just to remember which ship it is. It's a bit academic since I only have one ship, but if I had multiple Blue Squadron Escorts, I'd use those so I could tell which one was which. The X-Wing actually uses a combined turn, so the first phase is the planning phase, and this is where we choose our manoeuvres. So you can see I've got my manoeuvre dial for the X-Wing, which is all the manoeuvres I can pick. See, some of them are different colours. Red ones are basically harder manoeuvres, and blue ones are easy manoeuvres, and we'll explain what those are as they happen. We can see I've picked for this manoeuvre, so I put my dial face down next to my ship to show that I'm ready, and Will's chosen his manoeuvres for his 2 TIE fighters. So we'll move on to the activation phase. So in the activation phase, we look at our initiative values, and then starting with the ship with the lowest value, we perform our manoeuvres.
So the ship with the lowest initiative on the board is the Academy pilot with 1. So I'll reveal the manoeuvre I've chosen. It's the one marked there with the white, so that's 4 directly forwards. So what I do is place the 4-length manoeuvre template, 4 down like that.
You line up with the 2 little notches on the base, and then you just move the ship forward and line it up with the 2 notches at the back of the base.
So moves like that.
On the ship base at the bottom you can see its firing arc in the front there, the 90-degree firing arc. You can also see the initiative value on the ship.
And then after I've moved I get to do an action. I'm just going to use the evade action just in case the X-Wing can get into range and shoot it, make it a bit harder to hit.
Next up is the Blue Squadron Escort, and you can see my manoeuvre is also 4 directly ahead. And likewise line up with the base, move the ship forward, and there we go. So I've done my manoeuvre and I can choose an action. I'm just going to measure the range to the TIE fighter. You can see it's not in range, so I'm not in range for a target lock. And since it's not in range, I think I'll just elect not to do an action.
And finally we have the Black Squadron Ace, so revealing that I've chosen 3 directly forwards for him. So that just moves him up to there like that. Now I get to do an action with this ace, and we've already established it's not going to be in range, so I'm going to do a barrel roll. And the way that I do that is place the 1 template to either side and then move the ship to the other end of it. And I'm going to go this way, like that, so just flip over there.
So that's where we end up at the end of the activation phase. And then it's on to the engagement phase, where we would start with the ship with the highest initiative, and we'd do all our shooting, but nobody's going to be in range, so we'll just go on to the next turn. Just before we get to the turn, the Academy pilot's evade token goes away. Back around the plan phase, Will's chosen his manoeuvres, and there you can see a manoeuvre I'm going to do. But the Academy pilot activates first.
He's going to be going 2 directly forwards. So move him up. And then he gets to do an action. I think he's going to focus, because that will give him bonuses in both attack and defence potential.
Either one.
Either attack or defence.
Yeah. And then my Blue Squadron Escort will go, and he is also going 2 directly forward. So that brings the X-Wing and the Academy pilot ever so closer, and I'm also going to focus.
Then the Black Squadron Ace gets to go, and he's going to do a shallow turn 2 to the right.
So he ends up like that.
And for my action, he's also going to focus, because that will give him some bonus for shooting, potentially.
Yeah, and it's on to the engagement phase, where he will get to shoot first.
As you can see, he is in my arc of fire, as shown there, and he's at range 2.
Yeah, you measure to the closest part of the target space, so it's within range 2. So you just get your normal number of attack die. You get +1 at range 1, and at range 3 the defender gets an extra evade die.
So a TIE fighter has 2 attack dice, so I roll these and I'm looking for the explosive things. Right, so I've got 1 hit there and 1 eye, but I can spend my focus to turn that into a hit.
Yeah, into an ordinary hit. So you'll get 2 hits. X-Wing has 2 evade die, Oh, I got 2 evades, so no damage. So now the Blue Squadron Escort gets to shoot, and the Academy Pilot is definitely at range 2, so I'm going to shoot at him. X-Wing has 3 red attack die. Oh, and I get 2 crits. These are 2 crits and a hit.
TIE Fighter has 3 evade dice, and I've got my focus I can use potentially. But I didn't roll any eyes, so that's only 1 evade.
Yeah, so you will evade the normal hit first and then take 2 crits, which is drawing 2 of those damage cards face up.
So we've got direct hit, take a damage, and then...
Repair this card, that means you flip it over. So it's just 1 damage.
And then we've got Wounded Pilot. After you perform an action, roll an attack die. On a hit or a crit, you gain a stress token. And you can take an action to repair the card and fix that. But that's also 2 damage on the TIE Fighter. It has 3...
Yeah, it's 3 hull, so it only has
3
1 hull left. So take the damage cards and put them next to the Academy Pilot's card for a reminder. And also there's a little token to remind you that he's got critical damage. But now he gets to shoot back.
Has 2 attacks as well, and I haven't actually used my focus yet, so I can turn that into a normal hit.
Yep, and I get 2 evade die. I got an evade. I could have turned this eye into another evade, but I don't need to. And that'll be the end of that turn. So at the end of the turn, the focus tokens go away, and we move on to the planning phase of the next turn. So Will's chosen his manoeuvres, and you can see the one I'm going to do. So planning phase over. We'll start with the Academy Pilot.
So flip this over, reveals I'm going to do a hard 90-degree turn to the right 3. So that will take it to there, like that. And my action will be to repair the Wounded Pilot card, which is an action, so that just turns into a normal damage.
And on my turn, I'm going to do a choreographed turn, as it's called, or a U-turn, as we might call it in our universe, 4. So the way a choreographed turn works, you line up the maneuver template, but then you rotate the ship 90 degrees at the end, so it's facing the other way. But that was also a red manoeuvre, so my pilot gains a stress token. So since he has a stress token, he can no longer perform an action or perform any more red manoeuvres until I do a blue manoeuvre to get rid of it.
And the Black Squadron Ace is also going to do a choreographed turn, distance 4. So move it 4 and then rotate 380 degrees.
Yeah, and he doesn't go over the debris field. It's only if the manoeuvre template does or he ends on top of it.
But I also gain a stress token for doing that.
And it will be on to the engagement phase where the Black Squadron Ace can shoot first. So we reckon it's not quite at range 1, so the TIE Fighter will only get its 2 attack die.
And I got 1 hit and 1 nothing.
Yeah, and I get 2 evade die. I got 2 evades, so no damage. And the Academy Pilot has moved out of my X-Wing's firing arc, so I'm just going to shoot at the Black Squadron Ace. 3 attack die for an X-Wing. Getting a single hit. Can't do anything with the focus result.
3 evade dice. Oh, I didn't get any evades, and I can't focus that.
So it's a single damage. So a face down damage card on the Black Squadron Ace. And that's it for that turn. The stress tokens stay until they are removed by game events, so on to the next planning phase. Picked up all of our manoeuvres, and the Academy Pilot moves first.
So we're going to do a 3-length choreographed turn. Like that, rotate 180 degrees.
Yeah, and gain a stress token, and can't perform an action. So I'm going to do a shallow turn 2 to the right, and it's a blue manoeuvre, so I'll lose my stress token. I'll end up there. Stress token goes away, so I can now perform an action. I'm going to target lock the Academy Pilot, who's ship number 3. So what a target lock does, when I roll to attack, I can spend my target lock to reroll any number of the attack die, and it also persists between turns, but I can only target lock 1 ship at a time.
Black Squadron Ace is going to do a shallow turn 2 to the right as well.
Narrowly missing the asteroid, and presumably it's a blue manoeuvre, so his stress token goes away. And then would you like to perform an action?
No, I don't see the point.
So it'll be on to the engagement phase. The Black Squadron Ace has got anyone to shoot at, so the Blue Squadron Escort gets to go. You're at range 2, so 3 attack dice. I'm going to spend my target lock to reroll those 2. Into a crit, so I get a crit and a hit.
And rolling my 3 evade dice. I got an evade and a focus, but I'm not focusing.
So you'll take a crit, that will total 3 damage, so the Academy Pilot will be destroyed. So the Academy Pilot down, it's 1v1 as we move on to the next planning phase. So we finished planning our manoeuvres, and since my Blue Squadron Escort has the lowest initiative, he'll activate first, so I'm going to do a hard turn 3 to the left. Some pretty tight manoeuvring, and then I might as well focus in case I get shot at.
Black Squadron Ace is going a hard turn 3 to the right. I'm not going to do any actions because there's no point.
Yeah, and neither of us are in each other's firing arcs, so on to the next planning phase. We've chosen our manoeuvres, and I'm going to go first with a shallow turn 2 to the left. So we'll move up, We're definitely within range 3, so I'm going to target lock.
And revealing mine, I'm going to go a tight turn 2 to the right.
So we're almost going to crash into each other.
And for my action, I'm going to evade because I'm going to get quite a lot of fire coming back at me in a second.
Yep, it's on to the engagement phase, and the TIE pilot gets to shoot first. And he gets an extra attack dice because we're definitely at range 1.
So 3 attack dice. Ooh, 2 crits and a hit.
2 crits and a hit. And you get 2 evade dice. Or I get a single evade, so I avoid the ordinary hit. And then the 2 crits will deactivate with my shields. Just for convenience, you just flip the shield tokens over, and I don't have any shields left. But now I get to shoot back, and I have 4 attack dice, so I only have 3. So I'll re-roll 1. I'll roll an extra, so we have no hits, so I'm going to spend my target lock to re-roll all 4 of them, obviously. So I end up getting 2 hits, 2 hits.
And I get my 3 evade dice, and which I've got... Well, I can turn a blank or a focus into an evade with my evade, so I avoid everything.
So we've chosen our manoeuvres, and I'm going to start with Italian roll, speed 3 to the left. So performing this move is going to be a bit fiddly, so we get to use this little marker to move the TIE fighter out of the way. Then I'll do a 90-degree turn, and then at the end of the Italian roll I turn 90 degrees, and that's a red manoeuvre, so I gain a stress token. And then we can put the TIE fighter back.
And I'm going to go 5 directly forwards. So that puts me there. And I think I'm going to evade because I'm going to get shot.
Yeah, so in the engagement phase, he'll get an extra green evade die because we're at range 3. 3 dice for the X-Wing, getting a crit and a hit.
And then 4 evade dice, I'll re-roll 1. So that's 2 evades so far, and actually I've already evaded them all.
Yeah, you could have turned that blank into an evade anyway.
Yeah, so we're fine.
So planned on manoeuvres, and I'm going to start with a moving 2 directly ahead. So we'll move up, my stress token will go away because it was a blue manoeuvre, and then I'm going to do a barrel roll to the left.
And I've decided to go a hard turn 3 left. And now I'll have to evade again because I'm going to be shot again.
Just within range 2, so I get 3 dice for the X-Wing, getting a single hit.
3 evades. Oh, I got 2, but I could actually have changed anything else into an evade, so...
Finish planning. Going to start with a shallow turn, 1 to the left. So I'll inch closer to the TIE fighter, and I'm going to target lock him as well.
And we're going to do a tight turn 1 to the left.
Yeah, because TIE fighters can do that.
I'm running out of board here, so...
Yeah, because the board edge is just beyond the edge of my ship card there.
Guess we will evade again, because we're not in the fire arc.
And we're definitely within range 1. So I've got 4 die. Got 3 hits so far. Plus a focus. I'll take the 3 hits, I'll keep my target lock.
So my 3 evades. I've got 1, and I can turn another one into an evade with my evade, so 1 hit.
So he just takes 1 damage. But he's down to 1 whole point. Choose no manoeuvres, and I'm going to do another Italian roll 3 to the left. And I'll have just enough space to not fly off the board. So I'm just going to be okay to finish my Italian roll. Keep my target lock, but gain a stress token.
And my movement is 5 directly ahead.
Whoa.
So that takes me to there, and as you can see I am in the fire arc, so for our action we're going to barrel roll, and there's just enough room on the board.
About 1/6 of an inch away from the arbitrary board edge, but that does mean I don't get to shoot at him, so it's straight on to the next planning phase. I'm going to start with a shallow turn 2 to the right. So I end up alongside the TIE fighter. It's a blue manoeuvre, so my stress token goes away. So I finish my manoeuvre, and I'm just going to focus as my action.
My action is a turn to the left, 3. We're going to have to evade because we're in range 1.
Yeah, just about in range 1, as I'll get to shoot at you again. So we get 4 attack die, because we're at range 1. So far we've got 3 focus, and a hit, so I'll spend my focus to turn those 3 focus into 4 hits. Yeah.
Well, I'll roll my evade, but I don't actually... Oh, they're all failed, so 4 hits.
But you'll take 3 damage, and the Black Squadron Ace will be destroyed. And then it'll be victory for the Rebels. So I'll do a quick recap for you now. So that was our first look at the Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. How did you think that little battle went?
I think, well, the opening exchanges were interesting because you rolled all your evades and I rolled 9. I rolled 1 out of 9, I think.
You got very unlucky with the evade.
Yeah, so I lost my admittedly not very good pilot straight away. And then, if you like, the second half of the game was me just frantically trying to anticipate your moves and trying to get out of fire arcs and stuff, but ultimately not quite managing it. At the end, once you got behind me, it's very difficult to get out of fire arcs. Also, without falling off the board. At one point I kind of got trapped in the corner, and then you didn't really have to think that hard to figure out where you needed to be able to shoot me at that point, because I could only make certain moves, otherwise I'd fly off the board.
Yeah, and you might be better off doing like full 5 speed just to get out of range and then doing a loop of the battlefield or something.
I think if I hadn't lost my other ship quite early on, there's only like one turn where you had to decide which one to shoot at. If I'd had both of them alive for a bit longer, I mean, I was planning to use the Academy pilot as
yeah, you can have one as bait and the other one fly behind.
Basically a sacrifice. Although actually, when attacking, they're both identical. It's just that the
the only difference is the Black Squadron Ace moves later and shoots first, which is a big advantage to be fair.
But it's particularly an advantage when you have another ship, so you can really try and outmaneuver your opponent. But as I said, it didn't really happen in this game.
Yeah, it might not be apparent, but the X-Wing is actually basically twice as tough as the TIE Fighter as well, because it has 4 hull and 2 shields. So.
Overall, you have, like, if you like, 6 hit points per side, I suppose. But the X-Wing has slightly more attack, TIE Fighters have slightly more evade. But I think the X-Wing having the target lock is quite useful.
Yeah, it's a really handy.
Although then again, the TIE Fighters having evade as a skill kind of helped me out as well on a couple of occasions. It's difficult to know which is actually better. I think it probably comes down to who plays better, really.
Well, I really like the whole planning phase aspect where you need to try and figure out. And this was just with 3 ships. I think a larger game you might have sort of 3 or 4 aside, but you all have upgrades and there'll be named pilots with abilities, and each ship has its own manoeuvre as well. This is just a quick look at the rules, basically.
And obviously what you don't see on camera is that, particularly me, I spent several minutes trying to decide what to do, and then the actual turn only takes a touch.
Yeah, I like it's slower because we're filming it, but it's actually quite a fairly quick game once you've done all the planning. There's like the big decision, and there's a big burst of action as everything happens all at once.
Because for most of it, you were revealing your action first, and so for me, although I was revealing second, there was that feeling of you revealed your action, I'm like, oh no,
well, yeah, I guess
that.
There's the sense of, oh, whoops, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but then...
you know what you've done.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I really do like it. It's a really quick way of doing ship combat. I mean, I guess one thing I don't necessarily like about this game is you need so many tokens. It's a Fantasy Flight game, so obviously it has to have about 20 different types of tokens. It's just how they do their games. I guess it's a good way of showing different states, but it's just remembering to move them all. And I imagine it will get quite cluttered if you have sort of 3 or 4 ships aside, all evading and with target locks and stress tokens and stuff.
Yeah.
The whole maneuver dial thing I think is really handy with the smaller ships. I imagine if it got to even like 10 ships aside, it would start taking forever to do everything.
And the more ships you have, the more you've got to think what maneuvers you need to do, because you've got to figure out where every other ship has to be, including your own ships.
Yeah.
Because it didn't actually happen in this game, but if you bump into another ship, then you can't take actions.
Yes, and you can't shoot at something at range 0.
You've got to think, where will this ship be by the time my ship gets to move?
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing about moving after, is you need to anticipate, actually, not just the manoeuvre I'm going to do, but where my ship will end up.
But not being able to act is actually quite... I think actually the actions are really important. On the occasions when the ship didn't get to act, you've got no way of avoiding more hits, you've got no way of increasing your firepower.
Being able to barrel roll out of the way as well.
Yeah, you're really at the mercy of the dice if you can't act. So that's the downside of performing a stressful manoeuvre, of course, is that... well, not only that, but you can anticipate that your opponent is likely to want to make a blue manoeuvre to remove a stress token. So if they have a stress token, you can say, well, they're most likely to do this, unless they really think they need to do something else. There's also, although I really like the templates thing, you have to be quite precise with them, because actually...
Yeah, if you're accidentally nudging ships and stuff, you can end up outside of somebody's fire arc and that sort of thing.
Or it can make the difference between whether you clip an asteroid or something, and so you actually have to be quite careful.
Once you play this enough, you could sort of carve and design all the manoeuvres. I don't think in the rules it doesn't say you can't measure, but you can check with the templates how a manoeuvre would turn out. You'll give your manoeuvres away, I suppose.
Another thing I like about this game, actually, is that to play a normal-sized game of this, you only need to have 3 or 4 ships per side.
Yeah, it's about 200 points, as they call it, this game.
Although the ships individually are, like £10-15
Yeah,
or
for a fighter. You don't actually need very many.
No, you don't. It's not going to be a several £100 investment before you can just play a basic game.
All the ships are pre-painted, and you don't really need any terrain. I mean, it's space, so it's just a flat board. You do need this starter set in order to play the game, because it has all the templates on the damaged deck. But yeah, it's a relatively cheap game to get into.
And it's quite quick to play as well. I mean, once you're familiar with the game rules and you know what you're doing, I imagine you can play this game fairly quickly. And there's not really much setup, as you see, because you just need a flat surface.
Yeah, just spread some asteroids and debris about. So that was our little brief look at X-Wing Miniatures game. So if you did like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to see more, please leave a comment.
And also, if this series of the donkeys try something or other, if there's any other games you would like to see on the channel, then let us know that as well. We might
have a look at other games. But we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.